Hey, good morning, my neighbors, to another episode of BYTTT. You already know who it is. It's your host with the most that can actually tell you what the hell's going on in the market. And I want to say thank you very much for chiming in with your boy. Um, and don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and the bell button as I'm fixing my tablet and make sure I got everything I need. And it looks like I do, except one little configuration. Did I not tell you I want my button layouts to be 9? There we go. Let's see if that takes. Oh, caveat. There we go. All right. Okay. This thing is doing some fun stuff. All right. Boom, boom. Oh, that's why. Landscape. Here we go. All right. Let's go ahead and get right over to our chart. And there we go. And that did not work. Okay, fine. Being difficult because it still thinks I'm in transition mode. All right. All right. Listen, you need to work on it, Streamlabs. All right. You need to work on it. All right. So let's go ahead. I guess we won't be using the tablet. If I reset it, will it work? Into studio mode. Nope. I don't want to go to studio mode. Ah, perfect. That'll work. All right. I think I can finally get rid of my screen. Yep, there we go. All right, so let's go ahead and get this party started. Now, there's a lot that we have to do, right? Like for example, one of the things that I noticed with NQ, let's go ahead and pull that up, is that we had a nice little push to the upside, and this thing is not chilling at all. But I want to temper your emotions. Let's get rid of these drawings because there is a lot of news on its way. All right, so let's go ahead and grab this. I love using my FX book. If you want to use Forex Factory, by all means you can. So I kind of told y'all about this a little bit earlier in the week that this was going to be a very loaded week. We just came off of Juneteenth, and they basically made the end of the month stop today versus the 30th, which would have been a Monday. And that would have been a lot to dissect over the weekend, so I can understand why they pushed it up. Just to kind of let you see, Monday is very muted. There is barely anything except for over in Europe. Let's see, US. Come on, where's US? All right, here's US. All we have is Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index, Chicago PMI. These things, and then you got a Fed that's going to be very, very low, unless you like to trade corn, wheat, and soy. This will have very, very low effect. So today, all right, today is going to be a very extreme, lots of information coming in. At 8:30, I won't be surprised. There's going to be an index of volatility. There's going to be quite a bit of chaos at 10 o'clock with Michigan sentiment. Those are the two things that you have to look out for. As far as your position, you already know if you're in the profits, keep it and just understand how much you're going to risk. Put your stop loss at the profit. And if you're like really, really in between, it could go against you really, really fast. So just be smart with your setup. All right, so let's go ahead and get to it. So NQ, beautiful, beautiful. We continue to make new higher highs. Like I said on yesterday, how the day closes is what it's going to extend to, and this is what I was looking for, was something along the lines of something like this with a little bit of an extension. Let me put the negative numbers, and I kind of showed y'all how I do that, which is negative 0.0236. Gotta put a point. 0. And that's the other thing I have a problem with this app. It's like it mutes my audio sometimes, and I don't know where it mute my audio. But yeah, 3252. Yes, that's what I have, and you have 32. Oh, so that's probably the poll. 3238. Okay, okay. Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to do a projector for my line to make sure my mic does not get muted. All right. Well, let's go ahead and keep it going. Hopefully, you got enough information before my mic try to do. Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and keep this party going. I don't know if y'all heard, but yeah, basically silver. This is what it's dragging to. Let's see if it can get higher. And that probably drag gold right back up. Be careful with that rod because silver still hasn't failed. Now, actually, if silver starts to pour out, it might drag gold even lower, and that's probably what you want to look for. British pound, we're going for new highs. We recovering from Brexit, and you can kind of see we're getting ourselves new highs on ES. And then Russell, we broke out of this level, and we're looking for it to kind of continue into this area here and get to maybe a fair value gap fill to 2250. That's probably going to happen on the Russell. And then the last one is the US dollar. US dollar is under our order block. This is our block that was built back here when we had a lot of action over in 2022, especially when they were doing a lot of that push down and really liquidated a lot of people from the pandemic, and we got up into some really, really highs right there. All right, so I'm looking at I'm looking at the fact that we're down here so low. We've touched the level that I was curious about, which is around that 97.2. We got below at 97 even. I think this thing can go just a little bit lower and continue. So just keep that in mind. You know what? I wonder, is it because I kind of switch my screens like this? Is that the reason why the audio did that? I don't know. Very, very interesting. All right, let's get back to it. Anyways, I got a lot of tickers for us to go over, and we got like 15 minutes until the market gets its information from the personal consumer. And to be honest, I won't be surprised that this whole entire thing is going to be bullish for the dollar, letting the market go and drop. I don't want it to, and I'm going to explain to you why. Well, the first couple of things is tickers like, right, there we go. Tickers like Netflix. This is one that's very heavy, and it's been just trending up, and it has almost no chill. This is a freight train that's taking out all of the bears' information and money at the same time. They're probably like, wait, you said the price target was about 1,000 or 1,300. Why are we still making higher highs? This thing does not care who's in its way. And actually, to kind of give you a little bit of idea, I was planning on shorting it when it got under 75, and it got there for like 2 seconds and they bought the dip. So this thing is not chilling at all. Another one is Meta. I actually have a tiny position on this one, and it should be good. But again, we're talking about pre-market. If we go over to my 2 hour, it's probably going to show a little bit more information. Very tiny candles here on the pre-market. Look like some investors are coming in, but I want this to get to 740. That is my target. That is where the highs are. So let's get there. Yep, that's where our highs are, and I'm looking for them to get there. Another one that's just trekking, but I'm not dealing with too much, is Microsoft. I think they want that 500 level, and we're really close to it. So I wonder how much momentum is going to carry us into it. I do think it needs to retrace back to this trend line. This is all the way back here from April, but if you think about it, ever since May, this thing's just been on one direction. So keep that in mind. Tesla is suffering. I got so many levels here of point of interest, and to be honest, it's almost like wiping this whole entire slate clean, coming over to the weekly, and just accepting the chart from what I see here at this point, because they are really not respecting some levels. It's very choppy. If there's anything we can point out is the fact that Tesla has broken the micro downtrend off of what should be a major downtrend from when its first inception all the way down over there. But just little stuff like I just saw on the news. One of his executives has quit, or they found another job, or is leaving, whatever the reason. Maybe he's gonna go find himself. But either way, he's losing some of his lieutenants along the way, and that's not the first time I've heard somebody else is leaving from there. Again, he is completely into that Doge with government efficiency. So I don't know if he pulled back a little bit. Is he back in there? But we do have this micro trend, and this is what makes me very interested in Tesla as a whole. Very, very tight down here in this range here. And with that tightness, this could give us a nice little momentum to the upside. But every time it tries, it gets smacked. Right now, we got this here, going back over to the daily, almost like this micro trend is giving us all these problems. But they broke it again. So that's why I'm like, all of this inside of here is nothing but a fist fight of nothing but children. And I'm not going to go ahead and jump into that. I'm going to let them wear themselves out. When they get tired, then I'll pick a side and then separate it and just go ahead and push to the upside. But we'll see what happens. Maybe, potentially, this is the pivot that's going to lead to the higher highs. But until that happens, where we break above this level at 367, this does not exist. All right, let's go ahead and keep this going. We got UNH. UNH, I'm still waiting. It's just been consolidating. Can he get above 334 or can he melt down 300? Which one? Until then, I'm sitting on my hands. RCL is doing its job. I like what it's doing over there. Better company than this guy. Yeah, those folks over there. Yeah, no, don't like it. Oh, actually, they returned some money to shareholders in a surprise like that. But either way, this is the better company. You can tell by the dollar amount and everything else. So let's see what happens. Can we get to 300? That's the level I'm looking for. T-Mobile started to do a little bit of its recovery. I don't think it's going to go too far, but we'll see what happens there. And Apple is still Apple. I'm getting annoyed here. Like, I have a very, very tiny position here, and I'm thinking it's going to go up. Maybe they're waiting for earnings. Maybe there's going to be some big announcement that's going to happen with Apple. Maybe Apple just starts to dump because they have absolutely no new product that is in the more affordable space, as this economy is still trying to figure out what are we going to do. Are we in a recession or are we not in a recession? Let's see what this consumer spending says, because the consumer spending probably could dictate how Apple's earnings go. Like, there's going to be a lot of things that we have some questions on. So let's go ahead and keep this going. What else we got? 3M is doing this thing. It got above at 148. I told you that a couple of weeks ago, so I'm looking to see if I can get a position there. Starbucks is rejecting its area. I was looking for above 95. That's not really rolling the way I expected. Alcoa. This thing is really starting to build a little bit of a base. I don't know if there's something like they're going to revamp, build back better, because this is an aluminum company, or if there's other news there. Actually, this is interesting. US dollar is tanking. What does that mean for gold, copper, and I guess aluminum, which is a rare metal and all that stuff? We buy aluminum for purposes, for things that we need aluminum foil, right? For example. But there's like aluminum, other things that they use, and this is a company that specialize in that. So I wonder if that's going to help with that, because when Build Back Better was such a thing, this was back, what was that, 2024? Gotta be 2024. Yeah, it had to been somewhere right. So they were really looking for this to be like, all right, they're going to build an infrastructure. That means there's going to be aluminum needs, right? Especially like railings and stuff like that. Those things are steel and some parts aluminum. So this one was really moving. And then another one, if you want to kind of look for steel, if that's going up, you can kind of see right there. They're starting to invest into some steel here. So this is also another one that needs to kind of like rally. This is a U.S. steel that's been up here before. So I kind of like this one. Just keep an eye on that. But going back to Alcoa, this one could be beneficial due to the fact that U.S. steel is moving up. All right, let's keep this party going. What else I got for y'all? Let's get into the third month. Let's go deep. I told y'all about Costco. It's still kind of struggling to get above that 1,000. And I think it's going to be a while before they do so. I would love a nice little bounce off of 924. Look out for 924 somewhere in the month of July, and then a rally that ensues after. CrowdStrike got to its 500 level. I told y'all that 500 is probably their target. A little upset of myself because I was looking at cybersecurity, played Datadog, which is another one, right? But as far as that one, it's just it's taking a sweet time. It's just not there yet. It's just not there yet. But we'll see what happens there. So looking at CrowdStrike, I think it has a lot more to give. Let me get back to my list. A lot more to give because if this thing can find some momentum above that 500, we probably could get ourselves into that 525, 550. Again, this is all-time highs. Just be conscious about it, so that way you're not investing way too much and lose too much. All right, it is closer to the top than the bottom. Adobe is falling, and I saw something on, I think it was the monthly, I think it was here, and I didn't realize that we really kind of engulfed this and came down to this level. We haven't really retook that area, and this month might finish with a lower high. If we get rid of the joins, let's get rid of the joins for this right here. This is a lower high. What is Adobe planning here? Like, as far as the ticker movement, not saying the company, but just like people that invest in Adobe. You remember, we're traders. We got to sell it to somebody when it's all said and done. It's getting a little bit of a pop today, but look at how it's coming through this MACD. Is this just volume exhaustion, and then next month is going to continue? They did take out this low when they got down here, which is the May low. So is this a beginning of a trend to the downside for Adobe? Now, I lean on that it's not, only because Adobe has a lot of suites. Go into adobe.com. You'll see they do music, they do production, they do photos. You already know them for photos, and they do Adobe Reader. They're, everybody has Adobe Reader, so those licenses are there. But at this point, there are competitors. I don't think they're going to be as bad as Docu, even though they took some of their market share from DocuSign because there's Adobe Sign, right? But it could be along the lines of that level. Let's see what happens when it gets to this neckline. This thing really looks like an M pattern if you really look at this ticker itself. Let me bring it in. Joins, boom. 274? That would be tough. That would be tough because that extension would come through and the 200s already above it. Maybe they're looking for a level around here to kind of shake some people, and then they might rally to make some new highs. Keep an eye on Adobe. Good company. All right, Zscaler in that cyberspace. Like I told y'all yesterday, we already passed the 50%. Can we get the rest of the move? Absolutely. It's very possible, but I would have rather be already in than trying to get in now. It could get a little choppy there, so just keep an eye for a possible reversal when we get up there. FedEx is probably beneficial to what's going on with UPS. I told y'all before, UPS is trying to find its base. I don't have to take it, but we talked about that yesterday. I just kind of skipped over AVGO. Another good ticker. This one is the one that does the modems inside of your cell phones. This one in semiconductors. Look out for Soxel going into July. I won't be surprised that this thing does a massive rally, massive sell-off, all here. But then now we're starting to really take a nice solid base. Does this trend hold along the lines here? That would be very, very fun to that upside. MU has already did its first shot at that, and you can see it's very solid earnings, not a major sell-off or anything crazy. It sat right on my trend line, which made me almost, I'm gonna lie, I almost pulled the trigger. I was like, oh, sit on the trend line, I'll put my stop loss here and then just see if it goes up. But I kind of sat back. I was like, you know what, let me not do anything greedy. Their earnings was solid, 19%. Again, I've explained this to y'all before. When you look at these fundamentals from a technical aspect, just check out the two numbers. This is your bottom line. This is your top line. They're finding an extra $400 million. That's a good sign. Oh, okay. I got to get back to gold. I got you. All right. You found 400 extra $1 million. That means you're doing something right. And then how much you brought me back to in profits? An extra 19%. That's a good sign. Again, some people argue, is it priced in? Is it not? I think maybe it is priced in, especially with this whole entire vertical move. Or is this a sector move because this one was such a laggard for a long period of time, especially between NVIDIA and the AMD? Just keep an eye on this one. I would love for it to bounce off this trend line and then get in. So just keep in mind that. Let's get over to gold. Rod found something over at gold. Let me see what all the 15-minute tweets of bottoms. That could put some pressure on the market if it does. Ooh, and a bullish divergence too. Ooh. All right, do I got my paper traded in there? Yeah. I kind of got myself beat up on my leap. I think I might be still top 5%, maybe. Yeah, I'm still top 5%. But I'm getting beat up a little bit, but it's all right, right? I'm doing it for fun more so than anything else. But this tweet's the bottom. If this thing can reverse this whole entire thing, this would save my leap account and probably bring me back up to the top 4, top 3%. That'd be great. That would be really, really great. But let's see. 15 minutes is almost over. Maybe I should do something crazy like a buy stop here as this news is coming, because if they spike it, it might just go ahead and shoot right on up. We got 56 seconds until the news come. Like I said, it's going to be GDP. What else? No, sorry. Core PCE, personal spending, year over year, month over month, core PCE. Someone's running their mouth at 45 minutes with Fed Hammock and Fed Cook. So that's all of that stuff that's coming up. So people probably going to cash out all their bearish position and make gold go ahead and push up. We'll see. I should be safe, right? I just want a little bit. Nah. Wait, let's see what happens. I would say my stop loss would probably down here somewhere, but we're not going to put that on the screen, right? This thing can probably just dump something vicious. All right, we got ourselves 10 seconds. 10 seconds until this actually pans out. Oh, man. Oh, that's muted. The market's kind of just dancing around. I was thinking you're going to go ahead and do some major spike. All right, let's look at the numbers. Personal spending is bearish for the dollar, so that means pushing up for the market. Personal income, likewise. Core PCE is bullish for the dollar. That's not a good sign. Not for upside movement, because I want to see my meta go into the stratosphere right now. Yeah, that's I put more weight on core PCE than I put on personal spending and personal income, because personal spending and personal income is usually paired with Michigan sentiment, and that's not until 10 o'clock, so I want to see what happens with that. So not a good sign. All right, so I thought we were going to get something much more drastic here. Oh, I picked the wrong doggone camera. That's good. Let's get this going. All right, there we go. All right, so looking at this. All right, this is going to be very interesting. Let's see what happens here. I think that Tweezerbot is about to get chewed up right now, Rod. They tried to reverse it. They just couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. All right, so we got like about a good 5 minutes. I got a couple of things I got to work on for an assignment of mine. One I gave myself, and then the other for one of my students. Let's go with, Uber. As much as I dislike this company, if you know, you know. Uber is looking like this W pattern is done. They started selling at this top area. I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine, and he was like, well, we'll get to 93, we're just going to fly. I doubted it. I didn't expect that. I felt like 93 was the target for the most part, but from what I'm seeing here, W is completed. If maybe their earnings, maybe a nice little pullback, and then their earnings will be solid. Maybe another surprise, because last earnings, they gave a nice surprise. It was like 63%. Maybe if this earnings gets guided into this level, because I think they priced in this based on that. And if this thing shoots up and gives another surprise, look for that 12.4 billion, which there should be a 1 billion increase. Look for that thing to start to really, really push up. All right, let me give y'all two more. We'll get out of here. Hood looks good. It went ahead and got all of its smoke back. If I told y'all 85 was probably going to be its target, we got to 85.55. Shout out to those that actually took that trade. Congratulations. Upstart, I am still looking at a buy now, pay later space as a place for it to continue. And you can kind of see Upstart and Affirm is doing solid. Clorox, this thing has been on a complete death spiral. I'm looking at the fact that this microtrend was broken. Is 115 to 117 the place that they're going to bounce? Well, if you ever played Clorox, when it finally moves, it does some real good movement. This is very exhausted. They put in multiple attempts at bullish divergence. Has it been lower than this before? Yeah, it has. But that is 2023. That is 2022. And where's our pandemic? Oh, actually, it rose because everybody was buying a whole lot of Clorox to get rid of germs. But yeah, September 2020, that's our low. And you can kind of see this is our lowest point. I think this whole entire move was responsible for this rise up here. So I think if they can't get this below this on the MACD, that divergence that played out to here will lead to another one because they're really trying to drive this price down. And I don't know what the level is. I think 115 looks good, but we need to start making some higher highs here. So very curious on what Clorox does here. All right, 834. Let's do one more. Crocs. This thing just keeps on like a radiated roach. This thing is trying its best to get out of its order block. If it could get above 104, I probably would be bullish and play this up, and then you'll make what would be like a lower low W. We did put in a bullish divergence over here. That's made me very curious on Crocs. So look for Crocs to take another strike to that upside. All right, let me go ahead and get y'all out of here. I want to say thank you very much for participating with your boy. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and the bell button. I still got my one-on-ones. It's open. It's down below in the description. And don't forget Instagram, Twitter. I'm on that. JD_the great. Tomorrow is Saturday, so we got mindset. If you want more information on mindset, by all means, just go ahead and DM me on Instagram. I'll send you over the link. And without further ado, just go ahead and enjoy your day. Good luck out there. The one thing I would say is we are toppy. Okay? Do as you like with that information. And I'll see y'all on Monday. Have a great day.